Hello and welcome to the Barbie Experience podcast. I am your host, Isabel Dieppa, also known as Belle. Previously, in my other names, I was going by Isa, but a lot of my friends call me Belle. So you guys are my friends. So I decided to be a little more friendly and informal. So you guys can call me Belle as well. I'm also known as Roller Skate Barbie. This is episode 5. I am so excited. If you are new, welcome. This is a podcast where we explore our experiences with Barbie. This podcast interviews comics, influencers, writers, actors, really anyone that I could talk to about their experience with Barbie. We discuss Barbie's legacy, our favorite dolls, and what makes her such an icon. Today's guest, I'm super excited. Her name is Noel Z. Masari. She is a Portland based writer, actress, and comic. She's a paranormal investigator, podcaster. You can check out her really cool podcast, Ghosts and Hoes, spelled Ghosts N Hauxs, and an all around nerd. Please welcome Z to the podcast.
Hi.
Hi.
I am so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. We have only met each other through Twitter, and I love your energy. And I also love your podcast. Your podcast
Thank
is
you.
really great. And it's also like you guys cover some stuff that's pretty gruesome. And I'm like, oh my God, people are so crazy.
Yes. So, including my dog, who is just staring at me very intensely right now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. He's just a big, giant, literal giant baby.
I feel like most dogs are. I also have a dog. I luckily I know we just talked about this before the podcast had started about exercising them. I was able to exhaust mine, so he's like taking a nap.
Right. One of
I
mine is because we did that. And it's because he's a full German Shepherd and want all of your attention all of the time. Forever and ever. It's like, I'm
I
looking right
understand.
at you. That's why they're in here. Because if I try and do anything in my office with the door closed, he will lose his mind. I'm like, I
I'm
promise
sorry.
right here.
Oh, well, I hope that he calms down. What's the name again?
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye. After the
Like,
comic book character, or
after the from MASH, actually. And his brother is Trapper John, MASH themed.
okay.
Because I can't explain it. I just really loved that show as a child. Um, which also explains a lot about the things I will tell you later when we talk about Barbies. 'Cause I was very much a weird child.
I mean, I think all children are pretty weird. I think I was a weird child. I feel like everybody probably agree that
Fair.
they were kind of strange. Okay, so let's dive right in. I have a bunch of questions for you. I'm so excited.
Yay.
So, at what age did you start playing with Barbie? And what are some of your earliest memories with the doll?
Oh boy. So I think from my very terrible memory, I was probably around 4 or 5 when I really started like actively wanting Barbies and doing the whole like sit down and make up entire worlds and everything. Probably about 4 or 5, but I'm pretty sure seen Barbies before then and maybe like played with them for a second before being like and then doing who knows what else. But yeah, like 5 I think was a time when I got really into Barbie.
Was
Like
there like any one Barbie that kind of like called your attention or your memory that you're like, I want to need this?
um at that age, no. But when I was older, that's when I started noticing the tie-in Barbies with like I can't remember how old I was. I was probably like it was definitely in early elementary, so maybe like first or second grade when 90210 was out and hugely wildly popular, and then they came out the 90210 dolls, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." And so I had to get my Brenda Walsh Barbie because Shannon Doherty was my favorite character on that show. Her, and then I remember when all of the Disney movies started coming out, like early 90s classic Disney. Jasmine was huge. She was my main Barbie for a long time because as a little brown girl in Portland, Oregon, um, seeing a Middle Eastern character on screen was awesome. And I think I was 8 when that movie came out. And so I had to have her. And then I had Belle and Beast from the movie. That was like what, 94, somewhere in there. Had the Beast that had the removable Beast head. It was like a basically a Ken doll that came with a mask for the Beast. Had that, and then Pocahontas to have all of them that came out from that movie. So I was like, yes, I need them all immediately. We would go to the local KB Toys, RI, and it was in our mall. I would just wander the Barbie aisle for ages and ages. And I remember it wasn't like a conscious decision, but I would usually end up with like whatever brown Barbie they had at the time. So I was like, "Yes, please. Yes." And there was one I don't remember. It was Barbie, but it was like an off-brand was still sold in toy stores. Same size as the Barbie doll, but they were all ethnic, I guess. The closest word I could think of. And they were just the most beautiful non-Barbie Barbie dolls that I had seen at that point in my life. They were gorgeous.
What dolls were these?
I can't remember the name of them, but they had like similar feature proportions to Barbie dolls, but the one on she was just this like really beautiful black Barbie, and give me her immediately. And she was one of my like main character Barbies for years. And then I had a ton that I think were just like they were been gifted to me, or well, like because I just randomly all of a sudden had so many Barbies, and I don't know where a lot of them came. Yes, this is we've got a city's ways to play with. Let's go.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny what you were talking about Princess Jasmine because I had a very similar experience, like, as a brown girl, like, I vividly remember and it's funny because I went to Disney World, as an adult, like, for my 30th birthday, and when I was down there, that's actually when I started to collect dolls again. I bought a Princess Jasmine doll, which I still have. She's not here, she's in my Disney collection in my room. But I remember, like, opening that like, I got it for Christmas because Aladdin came out, November 25th, 1992. And I remember, like, opening the doll, and one of my aunts was like, "Isabel, she looks like you." And, like, I was so excited because I was like, "Oh my god, she has black hair and she's brown." And, like, she was so meaningful. And it's like, to this day, my brother, who's now also an adult and, like, 30 something years old, when he saw my Disney World doll, he was like, "Oh my god, she looks like the doll that you had when you were little." And I was like, "I know, I don't know what happened to her. I had to find a way to re-find her."
Right? I remember it being like a huge deal. um, when she came, like, not even just the merchandise, but the movie in general. It's like, yeah, this is the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my nearly 8 years of living at the time. Like, "Hey, hey, we have the same situation," and I'm very excited about it. It was like that whole year that was, like, Jasmine everything for me. It was like, "Halloween? Yeah.
Yes.
Make Aladdin? Sure was." It's like best, and then, of course, I wanted a tiger, but that was not a reasonable request.
Well, actually, you know what's really funny? So I do cosplay as well,
Mm,
and I have done a Princess Jasmine cosplay, and
yes.
I had done a week ago, I went to Disneyland. They had the first ever Disney Princess Night. I know this is a podcast
Ooh.
about Barbie, but like I'm just gonna like derail a little bit. I swear I have a point. So they had Disney Princess Night, and I actually dressed up as Ariel because Ariel was my main. It came out when it was like six when I was 6 years old, and I was just like in love with mermaids. And it's interesting because I like looked at myself as Ariel and like I looked good, but like I was comparing it to like the my cosplay as Jasmine, and I was like, why is it that I look better as Jasmine aside from like the obvious like I have dark hair and like brown skin. But I realized that, and I never noticed this as a kid that I didn't realize like how like important that was. But the way that Jasmine is drawn, not just the color of her skin, is also like a brown girl. Like her
Mhm.
nose is longer,
Yep.
which is like very similar to mine. And then it's like and kind of like instead of like having big round eyes, she has like more almond shaped eyes. And I was just like, oh my god, like, I don't know, I as an adult realizing that, like, the design choices, that it wasn't just like, "Oh, we're gonna, like, draw basically these European features onto this, like, brown girl
Mhm.
character. We're gonna draw, like, brown girl features onto this brown girl character," which I thought was really, really cool.
Same, and looking back at it now, you're like, "Okay, thank you." Like, sure, maybe the movies themselves are, maybe, slightly questionable or problematic, but as an 8-year-old, 7, 8-year-old in the early '90s when it came out, we didn't really have anything else. So
No!
let me
And
have it. Let me have it.
say no, and that's the thing that it's like, I feel like the '90s was like the year we had Jasmine, Pocahontas, Esmeralda, and it's like it was so important just to like have that look, like to have these different looks, and then like it wasn't, I mean, shamefully it wasn't until like 2010 that you don't get like Tiana.
Mhm.
But it's like it's so important to be able to see yourself as a kid in these like stories and in the toys that you play with, which is like why I'm so excited. I have already um been looking at all of the Barbies for the new Little Mermaid movie that's coming out.
Mm. Mhm.
There are okay, there's a couple of things, there are some questionable design choices that I'm like, "Why did you do this?"
Right.
Um, but overall, it looked like the dolls that I have seen leaked look beautiful, and I'm just like, "Oh, this is so, like, meaningful," like, even for me as an adult, but I know, like, the 8-year-olds that are watching this movie for the first time are gonna, like that's gonna be, like, their Princess Jasmine moment of, like, "Oh,
Yep.
she's me."
Exactly. I can't tell you how many times seeing the all the TikToks and everything of little girls seeing the trailer for the new Little Mermaid, being like, "Oh, she looks like me." I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm emotional every single
Yeah.
time." I'm like, "I get it. I get it. I love that." Like, should it have taken this long? No, but happening now. And the doll, I saw your post, one of the proposed new Ariel doll. She is gorgeous. If that's the, like, final design, very
Yeah, so the one that I posted on Twitter, there is one that's up for pre-sale now on it's on Amazon and on Target. And so that's kind of like what they call the Playline doll. So
Ooh.
usually when it so like fun fact. so um Disney commissioned Mattel to do the Disney Princess dolls. And when we were kids in the 90s, Mattel also did the princess dolls. So like this is why like they were like kind of like with Barbie as well. But
Mhm.
in 2016, Disney had like ended their contract with Mattel because well the rumor was they were really mad at Mattel because so Mattel had the Monster High dolls, but then they had a spin-off line called Ever After High, which was basically like another line of fairy tale dolls, and
Mhm.
like they were kind of competing with the Princess brand. And so then they went to Hasbro for a few years, but then I guess they didn't Disney ended the Hasbro contract and now they're back with Mattel. So just like
Okay.
fun like business side of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember when, um, learning because I had a Max doll in the very late '80s, very early '90s, and she was apparently, um, what they did with all of the Gem and the Holograms dolls after.
Maxi?
Yeah, Mac because
Well, Maxi or Mox? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Maxine, like Maxine, but Maxie, and they were taller, built a little bit differently than Barbie's because of the original line of the Gem and the Holograms dolls, which were very expensive. And then they're like, we have all this stuff, so we're just gonna kind of we'll just shift it into something else. And I remember having a Maxie doll for a while, and then yeah, just that's I did not know that about Disney because I think the Maxi dolls were by Hasbro s
Mhm.
since they had with Gem and the Holograms, which would make sense. But
Yeah. When it's funny because like the so basically if you watch the movie, just a documentary, I think it's like the toys that made us, I think is what
oh,
it's called. It's
yeah,
on Netflix. And they talk about that. Like they do talk about Barbie. I love Barbie, but sometimes girlfriend she's had a history of like
yeah.
being
Yes.
very vicious
A
when it
little
comes to
shady.
like she will take down her competitors. But basically they did a um Skipper was in response to Maxine because like basically what they were finding when they were doing like market research was that
Mhm.
Barbie was seen as like an adult and they wanted something that's more of like a teenager, and so then that's how Skipper came along.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Also, I was looking because I was gonna drive me bananas. I believe the doll I had, was actually it was a Barbie, I think, but their own thing. It was from The Marvelous World of Shawnee.
Oh, yes. Yes. So that was actually I'm pretty sure like I'm going to I hope that I'm not butchering this. There was a so for a while one of the I don't know if she was the CEO or she was just a creative director, but I know that one of the like head honchos at Mattel was a black woman, and I believe that Shawnee was the first African American doll. So like Christy was the first black doll, and then I think that Shawnee came along and she was the first African American doll.
Mhm, that's yeah, there were 3. Look, there was Shawnee, Asha, which is I think the one I had, and Nichelle is
Okay.
what the Barbie.fandom.com is telling me.
Love it. Yeah, I feel like, Barbie is so interesting because it has this like very rich lore and characters.
Mhm,
And I always get a little sad because like people whenever they think of Barbie, they like very specifically go to like the blonde Malibu Barbie, and it's like, well, first of all, not all Barbies are blonde and not all Barbies are white. And there are a lot of different like yes, there's Barbara Roberts, and then there's like all the other characters.
Yeah, there's a ton of history there that people definitely either forget or just don't know. It's like, no, no, there's so much happening in that very niche, like, and it's all super interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about some of your like earliest memories, and you talked a little bit about your most memorable Barbies. But are there any other Barbies that like really stick out to you that you're like, this is I still have this doll.
Yes. Um, so my best friend growing up was my cousin, who is 9 years older than I am. So all of the Barbies I mentioned earlier, um, while they may have come with their own backstories and names, we may have in fact made our own situ- situation. So let's see who to start. So Beast to start with, my Beast slash Prince Adam doll. I don't know how it happened, but I lost all of his clothes. And so my cousin decided that he was now Naked Tim, and he was the patriarch in a nudist family, and it was against their religion to wear clothes. And so yeah, just random Barbies that I had became part of the Naked family. And they all had like crazy teased hair and clothes, just feral Naked family. And then, there was Naked Tim, Naked Tana, and Naked Tara. Um, there were of the children, but I do not remember their names because I am old now, and that was a long time ago, and there were a lot of them. There were triplets, and I think one of them was actually named Triplet. Uh, and then had Brenda from 90210, and her husband was probably my most memorable and most fake Barbie. He was one of the big time Ken dolls. Um, and he was black one, and he was beautiful. And since I had only a bathing suit for him, that is when, and remember this was like 1990 to 1995. Um, he was cross-dressing Arnold. He was a fashion designer and beautician. He had the most beautiful gowns. He lived in the Barbie camper with his wife and their children. And and he had his models and beauticians were all lesbians. I can't explain it to you, but I was the child who, when I went to other people's houses to play Barbies, their kid maybe learned something new that day about, you know, things that 7-year-olds usually in the early 90s maybe don't know. But it was very all of our Barbies super inclusive. All of our stories, great. Arnold was a wealthy black successful businessman who happened to wear beautiful ball gowns. Which was very cool to like look back now and look at all these lessons my cousin was teaching me about inclusivity and all this stuff by way of just our normal pretend playtime.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. And yeah, and I don't have Arnold or any of them anymore because my cousin owns them all now. My grandma found them in the attic, like this big it was probably like a comforter bag from Target or something, but it's just like all of the Barbies in there. And I was when my cousin was getting ready to move to Delaware, and this was years ago now, but I was like, "Hey, guess what? Grandma found them." She was like, immediately. And so Arnold and the gang are living their very best life on the East Coast now. So she sent me this, and I love him to this very day.
That is awesome. I think that, you bring up this like really great point, and I've heard this conversation so many times about kind of like what we learned from play and with playing with dolls. And, I think that it's like Barbie is very interesting and Barbie dolls are very interesting because like I love comics and like X-Men and stuff like that, right? So like I have a bunch of like X-Men figures, but
Mhm.
it's like they are very specific to X-Men. So it's like
Yeah.
the stories that I play are usually like, would be with X-Men.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fun thing about Barbie, even if it is like you said, the 90210 dolls, that like I don't know, it kind of like for the most part, it's always been like this blank slate. And so it's like you get to put on whatever stories you want onto them. So yeah, they might have a name, they might have like some sort of like world to it, but like you get to build your own world. And I have just found throughout these interviews so many cool conversations of like how that play has like helped shape them as adults today. Like,
Yeah.
what they like their I don't know, their political views or even like their career choices and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was super fun to, like, add those games and, like I said, going to other people's houses and just
Yeah.
who knows what I said, but it was one of those things where it's like, mm, what is here? What are you talking about? Why is your boy Barbie in a dress?" I'm like, "Be he feels beautiful, and if he wants to wear a dress, he can, so he does." Even though
Yeah.
it's really just because I had boy Barbie clothes. So it's like cousin's like, "Hmm, I'm gonna take this opportunity and do some teaching. It's teachable moments." So it's like, being a child, you have no idea. You're just like, "Oh, cool. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay."
Yeah.
Kids
Absolutely.
kids are so ge like, accepting and, sure, why wouldn't he wanna wear a dress? Who cares?
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
"Let have that."
And I think that it's important
Have
to like
that.
sorry. I I think that it's important to like also just like let kids do that to like explore and play. And so like it does make me really sad whenever I hear stories of like boys, like some of my guy friends, and it's like, oh, I wasn't allowed to play with Barbies, so I'd have to like play hiddenly or like like all these like weird things that like adults put onto kids
Mhm.
who are playing with dolls when it's like, you just naturally kind of you get to explore the world and like how you can navigate the world through this play.
Exactly, and it's like, why do you care? I mean, you're gonna stop gendering your child's playtime. Let them do and be children. Like, just let them have fun. Let them learn. Let them use their imaginations and all just because the world is a garbage fire. If they're boys, who cares? Just let them have fun. I mean, they're only gonna be so young for so long because it does you wake up one day, "Wow, oh, when was the last time I played make believe with myself or, like, my toys? Or when was the last time I even had toys to play with?" Like, just let them play. Let them play, let them learn. Who cares? And you're
Yeah.
like, with back in my childhood days, it was always like, "Oh, Barbies are but here's a G.I. Joe, but he's an action figure." Well, he looks like the same thing he looks Ken to me. He just maybe has more muscles. So, you can call it an action figure all you want, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's still a doll.
He's a doll. Yeah.
It's like,
He's a doll. And
why
it's funny
don't you
because it's like I didn't care for, like, action figures until I was older and,
Mhm,
like, just, like, for
mhm.
the act of collecting, but I think it's, like, the thing that, like, attracted me so much to Barbies and still to this day, probably why, like, I'm more of a doll collector than anything else, is the hair. I'm like, I want hair. Like, I was always sad because Ken always had that plastic hair up
Yeah.
until Totally Hair Barbie. Totally
Oh,
Hair Barbie
totally.
comes along, and we have, like, Totally Hair Ken, and he gets to have his gel, and I'm just like, I want to, like, fix everyone's hair. I had no ambition ever to be like, I wanna be a stylist, but I just wanted to fix their
Yeah.
hair.
Exactly. Oh, I loved Totally Hair Barbie. My friend, because I grew up as a competitive dancer, and my dance partner, he had like real life Totally Hair Barbie hair, just and long, and like her hair was all her entire body length. Like they're just from the knees to the bottom of her foot, that there was no hair coming down there, but it went past her butt, and like when you put it in a ponytail, her hair was like a softball, just so much hair. And I remember when that Barbie came out, and I'm like, she's got ears, my friend. um but I still would love to own a replica one of Totally Hair Barbie's dresses, because it was just one of my favorite looks that came out of the 90s. It was
Give me one moment. Give me one moment.
I'm very excited for whatever's about to happen.
I've
Yes.
got the totally so I have her in box, and then I have the blonde one in autumn, but she's in my bedroom in like my on my Barbie dresser. But this is the totally hair Barbie Teresa, who was also my fave because she was like the Latina Barbie. But I like was able, and look, like it has the original price here of Walmart. It says $8.94. I did not pay $8.94 for her, but she's in excellent condition.
I
And the
love
woman who sold it to me, she was like, "Please, please, please take care of this doll." And I was like, I will honor her. Trust
don't
me."
you worry about it. Don't. Just it's so she's got the gel still.
Yes, I mean, so
Oh,
in this is a time capsule right here. Like for the people who were born past the 90s, this doll during the 90s, we were all about this Depp hair gel where we would put our hair, especially if you had curly hair, in gel, and it basically would like freeze your hair. It was like nice
so
and
crunchy.
stiff, so crunchy.
The crunch.
And if you had a ponytail, it was like this like there was no flyaway hairs ever. It was just like back,
Mm-mm.
and then like when you took the like scrunchie out, it like would just like stay there.
Yeah. It sure did. Like,
Like
I
hair was
remember
nice.
that smell. So it's like a core memory. Like, as soon as I smell any kind of gel, I'm like, "Oh, it takes me back." Yes. Remember
Yes.
deeply. And then the rollerblading Barbie.
I always wonder what happened to Depp. I'm like, does Depp gel still exist? I'm not really quite sure.
I don't know. No. Feel like it probably does, but I just never looked. I'm gonna have to look next time I go to the store to see it exists. Just I wanna find it in the wild and just smell it. Like, I don't wanna buy I wanna smell it for a minute and be like, "Mhm,
Just
mhm."
open it up and be like,
Yep, like, oh, childhood. Yeah, that gel and were huge parts of my childhood during dance competitions. Because oh bless, I'm surprised I have any hair left to this day for all the back combing and aquanetting and gelling that happened.
you know, Selma Hayek said this in a interview one time, but like I have made this joke. So my mom, she whenever she would like do my ponytails, it was like so far back. She has been giving like, facelifts since I was
Yes,
4 that like
yes,
when people are like, "Oh, you look so young." I'm like, "Well, it's because my mom has been like pulling my hair
yeah,
my hair back
same.
and my skull back my whole life."
Yeah, basically had an at-home facelift for 10 years of my life
Yeah.
every day. Yes, and also because of that, my scalp is very, tough. Like, pull my hair and I'll be fine. Like, somebody, like, accidentally, like my hair that's how we met. My best friend is my hairdresser, and I remember the first time she was doing my hair and she, like, had a little snag or something, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, are you okay?" I'm like, "I didn't even notice." that anything my scalp is for years.
Okay. So, all right. So, would you say that growing up, uh, playing with dolls was any sort of a negative impact? Body dysmorphia or like, yeah.
Um, I don't think for me personally that was a problem. Um, at least not like own because of the time period I grew up in. It was lit everywhere. Uh, like teasings telling you how to like what diet and how to lose weight and all this and because it was the early 90s to early to mid 2000s ish when it was like that whole just nightmare.
Heroin tea.
Yes, that, and since I had like, the Barbies were the least dam damage of my, uh, like, formative yes, because of the way that my cousin allowed my, like, free play and all this stuff, and she was also again, since she was 9 years older than I was, and she had that, growing up as a teenage girl in that same time period and being more aware of stuff like that, she was able to kind of try and pass along, like, "It doesn't matter, like, you're active, you're fit, you're beautiful at any size," and all that stuff from the early age, and
Mhm.
I had that kind of like as a line of defense for when I did event what some would say too old to play Barbies and just went out into the to be a teenager, and having all of those messages come from other places, uh,
Yeah.
and so it was like that personally for me was, yeah, the least damaging me to my body dysmorphia, which definitely came about later. Never in my Barbies, that issue, which I thank my cousin for yet again. Just helping to, like, plant those seeds for later, which was really, really cool of her.
Yeah. I kind of felt, the same thing, like, growing up, I felt like my body dysmorphia came more so from, like, television
Mhm.
and honestly, like, just being teased in school, like bullies, versus anything else. Because it's like, um and I feel like, honestly, it's so sad because it's like, we think about it, and it's like, in the 90s, the internet didn't really exist, so
Mhm.
it's like, you could kind of, like, curb how much information you were taking in, and,
Yes.
like, I feel so terrible for, like, teenagers now because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, I would not know how to, like, manage all of, like, the im like, because even as an adult, like, all the images that we take in, like, there are so many days that, like, I will sometimes be scrolling, like, on Instagram or whatnot,
Mhm.
and then, like,
Mhm.
I'll just be like, "I feel like shit. Why why do I feel like shit right now?"
It's just so much, and I'm like, everybody needs to set their phone down, maybe throw it into the sea, and go play with some dolls for a while.
Yeah.
Work things out, 'cause I feel like that's not really a thing that kids do too much these days. Like, I know several other different kinds of dolls still but I don't feel like they're as uh, I don't know what word I'm trying to but, like, it's not as much of a thing as it was when I was little, because Barbie was the jam, and, like, that was if you were a girl, you were getting a Barbie whether you wanted one or not. Like, that was just from Aunt Carol, "You're getting a Barbie for Christmas," like, it's happening. Like, they were everywhere, and now I mean, there's still I feel came later. I mean, a lot of it, not there was saying like, not saying there wasn't Barbie media. It was little, there
Mhm.
was. It just wasn't it was more the dolls themselves and then the occasional videotape. But it was never, like, super hardcore. Like, now there's all, like, the Barbie videos and stuff, like the Tinkerbell and everything, like, there's a ton. Movies, but I feel like it's more than actually wanting kids to, like, get and play with Barbies now. It's, like, kind of flip-flopped, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or the, Barbie workout tape, which I had, and, I mean, looking back at it now, you're like, "Oh, a workout tape for children." Well, that's probably not the greatest. Um, but it is fun to find clips of on the internet and relive that moment of time because, oh boy, was it hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, a couple years ago, and was just like to my bedroom when I however old I was just like along in my bedroom with Barbie and Jennifer Hewitt as it turned out. And then Barbie and the Rockers, which I believe
Mhm.
a way to compete with Gem and the Holograms. They had
Yes.
their own their own little fight going on, but Barbie and the Rockers was really cool. I thought I made that up for a very long time because nobody I ever met seemed to remember Sting. I was like, "No, don't you remember the movie where Barbie was a musician and there was something about going to space and rock and roll?" And they're like, are you sure that existed?" I'm like, "Yes, very sure." And because the internet wasn't really a thing for a long time in my developmental years, I couldn't look it up until one day I was randomly in, I think, like, a Walmart or something, and they had re-released like, new
Mhm.
versions of the dolls, and I was like, "I told you. I did not make it up."
See, I had also forgotten about Barbie and the Rockers, but for a long time, I was so, like, I've talked about this before on this podcast, people all know this. I was deeply impacted by Gem and the Holograms, like, as a child. Like, it came out, I think I remember seeing it, like, actually on TV, not in syndication. So, I was, like, 4 or 5 years old, and I just have, like, very vivid memories of it. But, like, I never remembered Barbie and the Rockers, but I felt like I would always try to talk to people about Gem and the Holograms, and people would be like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I'd be like, "No, this is this great thing." And, like, for a long time, I thought Gem and the Holograms was Barbie because I didn't know the difference.
Oh.
And then, like, the dolls, like, even I recently purchased some 80s Gem and the Holograms dolls and just, like, looking at them compared to Barbie, I was like, "Oh, they're just, like, so much bigger
Mhm.
and,
Yeah, and
like, they're
wasn't that
sturdier."
yeah, and wasn't that because of, like, the Bob Mackie, like, clothes that had been designed for the Gem dolls, I think, or something weird? They were like, Let's just make them different, and here, Bob" I don't know, I just remember something Bob Mackie being involved, which is incredible, which is also probably walls were so expensive.
I don't remember. I don't remember Bob Mackie. I did not know that. I had to look that up. Um, but I think it's, like, super interesting because I do feel like Barbies in the 90s, and I feel like this is now turning into an episode about the 90s specifically, which I'm totally fine with, like, whatever.
I can't help it,
We're
it's
old
just
millennials.
it's true. It's very true. I also like the fact that, it's like that micro generation where they're called, Zennials sometimes because Gen-ennials. I'm like, "Yeah, I that one I prefer." But also this generation or the Oregon Trail generation. I was like, any one of those 3 is fitting for me. Because yes, also speaking of the Spice Girls, I still have those dolls to this day.
Really? Oh my god, I'm so
Yes.
excited.
I was and will remain until I die a huge fan of the Spice
Same.
Girls. I have told my listeners on my show several times that Spice will hold the record for the most times I've seen a movie in the theater while it was in its first run. 11 times I saw Spice World in the theater. So, yeah, I had like, they were my Beatles, basically, as a teenage girl. And they were my Beatles. I had the Spice Girls everything. Um, but, yeah, I still have a lot of my Spice Girls stuff I still use. I have a Spice Girls gym bag that I still use when I go to my dance classes. Very, very infrequently it does happen. That is the bag I use. My uncle has lived in Paris or near Paris since before I was born. But he sent me some stuff from overseas that I couldn't get in the States. It was like the body spray when that came out. I couldn't get that
Oh.
here. And so he sent me that and like a backpack. Uh, some of the Chupa Chups inside of it, like of the actual Spice Girls ones that came with like a sticker or something. Um, and when I was in New Zealand when I was 13, I found it's like one of those little drawstring backpacks I still have of the Spice Girls. And yeah, I know for a fact my grandma has all of my Spice Girls dolls up in her attic to this very day.
I was gonna say you need to have a Spice Girls display. You need to have like a whole Spice Girls shrine.
Right. I mean, um I've got some like they had mini books about each girl. So like Pasha has her own book, Baby Spice has her own book. I have those still. For John, my other dog, ate one of them.
Oh
Scary
no.
Spice. He ate Scary Spice's book, which is rude. He was a puppy. He liked to eat books, which is just rude. And in 7th grade, 6th or 7th grade, I was in fact Scary Spice for Halloween, and which involved taking a trip to my local store. It was the precursor to fun, but somehow way cheaper even. But since it was the early mid 90s, um, Spice Girls fashion was super prevalent in that store. So I was able to get a matching leopard print, very flammable fake velvet uh set of a top and bell bell bottoms, I'm pretty. Which if I could find that again to this like now, yeah, I would wear it everywhere. Literally
Yes.
everywhere.
Wait, repeat that. What was the name of the store you just said?
Rave.
Me too! I loved Rave. I was
Mhm.
like, "Wait, did she just say Rave?" I have not heard that store name in years.
It
And,
was
like,
it was so good. It
it was like, if y'all think that Forever 21 is great, like, it's nothing compared to Rave. Like,
was where it's
Rave I have pictures of me in the 90s and, like, I have this, like, jumper, like, there was 3 specific items of clothing that I'm like, "If I can re-find this, I would wear this to this day." One of them was a pair of bell-bottom jeans that, like, they were so freaking cute. They had, like, a little design up on, like, the pockets, and this is in Puerto Rico, so, like, we had to wear uniforms to school, but, like, sometimes we would have, like, a casual day, and so, like, on casual day, I was, like, able to bust out my rave stuff, and then I had a jumper, like, a full, like, jumper that was instead of it being like overalls, like jeans, it was this
Mhm.
pretty like I mean, it was like it was like polyester, but it
Yeah.
was blue and it was like form fitting and it had like these really cool like white lines on the side, kind of like an Adidas thing. It was and then my favorite thing in the world is that I had another jumper that were shorts, but they were corduroy and they
Ooh.
had that same little blue like, they were I had a brown pair and I had the dark blue pair, and I'm so sad because 'cause I'm like, "This is the thing that I think about."
Right? Oh, frequently I do that, especially as I get closer to 40, and I'm like, "Oh, no." just nostalgia all over the place. Rave was one of my favorite stores, and then Juxtapose, which nobody seems to remember. I don't think it was local. I know that we had one here, and they had to be in at least a few other places, but it was like it reminded me of the bronze like the nightclub where the all ages nightclub, like that kind of. But I met pictures of it because it was like a clothing store, but also a juice bar for teenagers, which was very weird, but also very cool. And I actually, yeah, like I found the pictures online. I'm like, oh my God, I have been transported back to 1996, 1997. And it was
Yeah.
like, it had like a disco ball and just like just lights, like the neon lights that you see on TV shows when they're like, remember the 80s? The 80s? I'm like, no, no, no. 80s was far more brown than you're thinking. If you want that, it was like 94 to
Yeah.
1999, maybe even
Yeah.
2000 in some places. But yeah, it was just like, I'll have to send you the pictures on Twitter so you can see them because I was like, I want this back. I really want this to come back.
I feel like there were 2 90s memories, and, like, either you lived, like, kind of in a little bit of both of them, or you were, like, predominantly in one. So there was, like, the grunge 90s and, like, everyone wearing flannel and, like, listening to Kurt Cobain, and I feel like that was mostly, like, the teenagers that, like, were teenagers, like, like, Gen Xers, and then I feel like us who are, like, the Xlennials
Yeah.
we got, like, Clueless and Rave and freaking pens with, like, little, like, feathers at the end.
I just bought this recent. I was having a bad day and I found this pen, and sometimes I just like to procrastinating at it because it's so shiny. Yes, exactly what you're saying. Yes, and as someone who grew up in the Pacific Northwest, which is like heart of that specific period. Yeah. Yeah. Battle's only a few hours away. And so I remember those kids, like like high schoolers when I was in middle school. I remember a thing. I'm like, oh, they look so cool, but not like I could never do that because my grandma would think something was weird and make a big deal out of it. But definitely Clueless, yeah. Spice Girls, yes. We had like that kind of fashion for sure. And it was definitely fun mix of it growing up in Portland because you go to school with the older kids and then they're all wearing flannels and ripped jeans and their chains. And you want to have that same like super cool attitude, even
Mhm.
maybe like dressing like that. You're like, I want to bring that vibe, but I really want to wear a skirt.
Yes!
Like my white skirt and my black and white checkered up with my high platform flip-flops.
Yeah! Platform flip-flops, oh my god, I have not seen those in forever.
Go to
Okay,
Target because they have them again.
they're back?
Yeah. Yeah,
You're like,
they're the Gen Z and the Zoomers, they are gunning hard to bring back Y2K fashion. I mean, some of it, please, but also some of it, no. It should have never seen the in general. We can leave it in the past. But one extreme low rise jeans. I'm like, well, okay. You better make peace with everybody's butt crack, whether you want them to or not. You have no choice here. It's just there's no way around it. I'm sorry.
So, did you ever grow out of Barbies? Did you have a phase where you, like, grew out of your Barbie period?
Uh, it's kinda like what I was saying earlier, it was not really a conscious thing. It was just you notice yourself back. You're like, "Okay, well, it was just like you had less and less time to play like that." 'Cause for me, like I said, I grew up dancing, But then when it was around, like, probably going into middle school, so around 6th grade, I think, was when I was doing more after school activities, like, I was on dance team. My cousin moved away, and then, I had more homework to do. Um, I wasn't at my old dance anymore, so I didn't have my 3, like, best friends that I grew up with, and that would, we'd have dance competitions, dance practice, we'd all spend the night at each other's house. One of them was, like, we lived at each other's houses basically all summer. She went to a different school and she got busy, and since we didn't have dance class together anymore, we just didn't really see each other anymore. So all of that kind of stuff just kind of, like, fade away, and you never really think about it until it's art, and then you're like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I haven't played with my Barbies." And my grandma started to try and, like, give stuff away, like, at garage
Oh.
sales and stuff, like, to the good or whatever. I'm like, "If you ever," like, even though she's like, "You haven't played with these in years." I'm like, "Don't. Do not ever give them away because, just I would never be okay with that. You can't." And so she did keep them, like the ones we mostly, like, very important ones. And then eventually I gave them to my cousin. So but it was just yeah, you never really think about it. It's like the last time, like, you played make believe with a friend where you just made up identities and all this stuff, and you just, like, ran around the house in the backyard pretending whatever you were pretending. Like, you never think the last time you do something like that is gonna be the last time you do it until
Yeah.
it happens, and then you're old and sad. No.
See, I feel like, I had a different experience in the sense that, like, I basically, like, had to give my Barbies up because, like, I've always been kind of introverted, and, like, my family was, like, very my mom was very strict, so, like, I couldn't really go out and do things anyway, so,
Mhm.
like, I just, like, loved playing with my Barbies, and I remember, like, reaching, like, 15, and I was, like, close to turning, like, 16, and it was like, "Okay, I have to give my Barbies up," and, like, I would always take very good care of my dolls because, like, my mom was very much like, "If you
Mhm.
don't take care of these, I'm gonna throw them away." And so, like, kids in the neighborhood would, like, come and play with Barbies with me, and my mom was, like, always very grateful because she was like, "I'd rather you playing with Barbies than, like, get pregnant."
You fa
But, I remember, like, I kind of, like, went through this period where I was like, "Okay, I need to, like, leave this behind," and, like, I gave them away to, like, the girls in the neighborhood, and, like, afterwards, like, I reached adulthood and I regretted it, which is why, like, I wound up, like, buying a lot of, like, my favorite dolls, like, I don't collect all Barbies, but, like, I do have a mission that I do wanna collect every Barbie from the '90s. I'm nowhere near that, but, like, I want the decade of my of my childhood.
I get that. I get that 'cause I I well, not was, am the same way with books I read as a kid, because that was, like, my thing, was playing Barbies and reading my books, and my grandma gave most of them away cousin, like, my Goosebumps books, I had all to a certain point, and she gave them to my cousin who knows where they are now. She got rid of all of my original, like, Fear Street, Christopher Pike books, because I am a huge horror nerd, always have been, and so I would always get the newest Fear Street book as soon as it was released and I could make it to a bookstore. I would buy it and read it I I would just read them immediately, and so I've been and not even just Christopher Pike and R.L. Stine, I mean, the 2 main homies literally, but also, like, Nightmare Hall by Diane Oh, the Point Horror series, just there was so it was such a great time for young adult horror in that time frame, and that's what I grew up on, and so when I found out that she gave, like, all of my books away, I was like, "Oh, no. Oh, no. Why? Why did you do?" Been slowly going through, like, I to the point where I have a list on my phone of the books that I read. And so because I also have the problem of, I don't see it immediately in front of me, I will get. And I have repurchased the same handful of titles a few times over. Um, it just happens. And so I'm like, okay, we really have to do something about this because I know myself and I know I'm not going to stop until I've completed this list. So let's just go through and find all of like, here's all my Fear Street books. I'm like, okay, these are the ones I need. These like Christopher Pike, these are the ones I need. Just like all that, the 80s to
Yeah.
the to 99, where I'll stop, but I get that recollecting everything. And I'm just like, "Oh, no," but it also makes it like a kind of fun little treasure hunt to find these things. I like
Yeah.
to do it in the wild if I can, but if I know it's a more difficult to find title, then yeah, I'm gonna check the prices online. Like there are 2 Nightmare Hall books. I only need 2 to complete my Nightmare Hall series. Um, but outrageously priced for a single. It's like $70+. And
Oh
I think
gosh.
one of them is like way over that. But they changes all the time. So I just like have little notifications on my phone to remind like, hey, is this book ever gonna what happens? Is the price gonna go down? Send me an email if it does. But yeah, just
Yeah.
like having that nostalgia back that feels like, a nice warm blanket fresh out of the dryer just to hug around yourself. I mean, the world is a dumpster fire, and if I feel better by purchasing childhood favorite books, then let me have this.
Yes. Dude,
It's not
also,
hurting
like, I
anybody.
was you what?
I said, "It's not hurting anybody. Just let me buy
No.
my little books."
Yeah. I think that that's super important, and also just, like, I don't know, R.L. Stine I was also a huge R.L. Stine fan, a huge Fear Street. Goosebumps, I don't know, I'd never got into Goosebumps, but I was very into Fear Street, and I think that it was just,
Yeah.
like, I got into it when I was in high school, and I felt like Goosebumps was, like, junior high, and I was like, "I'm too old for that."
Definitely. It was kind of my gateway into horror books was Goosebumps because I was at, like, my friend's house, and her brother had been reading them, and so I just picked one up because she was doing something like, that when you would go to a friend's house back in the day, and they're like, "Oh, we have to run errands, so you're children, and you can stay here." So,
Yeah.
they had to take her to an appointment or something, so they're like, "We'll just you don't have to just stay home by yourself in not your house, and just we'll be back in an hour." And you're like, "Okay." And so
Yeah.
I found brother's Goosebumps books, and so I started reading those. I'm like, "So cool." And because 'cause I'd already loved scary movies, and I didn't realize
Mhm.
that they books like that, and so I think I read a handful of them and then started Fear Street pretty young. Um, but yeah, I was like, "These are the best."
Yeah. Well, okay, so, like, as a collector and as a person who, like, understands the importance of story, so, like, one of the things I've always thought was very interesting as far as Barbie goes is that, like, people collect a lot of things. You collect books. Some people will have like a Star Wars collection or a Batman collection. And for some reason, like collecting Barbies is kind of seen as like taboo. Like there has been a lot of, it's becoming a little more normalized now. But there is a lot of like, even to this day, like when I go to the gym, there's like, there's this guy that like I talk to at the gym who's like pretty cool, and like we'll talk about comic books and we'll talk about anime all the time. And then I was like, I have a Barbie podcast, and all of a sudden he was like, Barbie, like why would you have a like? And it was just like Barbie is like a thing of little kids, and it's like, what about anime and comic book?
Right?
So
I'm
it's
like,
like,
"How dare you?"
yeah, but so one of the questions I've had is like, how can we get Barbie to be this like fandom aside from like collectors, the way a books are or like does like what role does story play with Barbie in order to like actually create like a fandom?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know how you would, like, get that, like, this widespread community and fandom, which I'm very surprised is not a thing for Barbie,
There's
because
like
there
collectors, there's Barbie
Yeah,
collectors, but I don't know if like, it could be like considered a fandom the way that because it's like it is very niche. Like there is like a
mhm,
Barbie convention, but like it feels very niche and not like a part of like mainstream culture. And same thing goes with like Gem and the Holograms too. This is Gem and the Holograms convention. But they are also like a very niche group. Although Gem and the Holograms does have like a comic book and they have like a show. And so I'm kind of like, so what is it? Is it because like these are properties that are geared towards girls and women and like are they less like taken like less seriously as a fandom because of that? Like and if so, why?
yeah, I think that could definitely be a huge part of it, especially if it's, like, coming from the generation where we were, like, at the peak Barbie explosion in both, like, popularity and existence of the toys and how they were constantly coming out with new dolls all the time. Because again, that was, like, the era where it was like, "You're a girl, you have to play with dolls, and you're a boy, and you can only play with G.I. Joe or
And Hot Wheels.
my" Exactly, so it's like, just just trying to let that go and be like, "Why shouldn't it have its own fandom?" Or, like, outside of collectors, because it also has so much media behind it, like all of the movies, like we were talking about earlier, like, they did exist, they still exist, and they're gonna keep existing because they keep making more Barbie movies. So yeah, it's weird that it's one of those things that doesn't seem to have that same kind of fanfare about it when there are so many similar things in current that do? I don't get it.
Yeah. Or like respect as a fandom. I guess like
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I'm thinking about because I'm like I'm a Barbie fan. Like like I wear Barbie. I'm wearing a Barbie shirt right now. Like I wear like Barbie merch. I collect Barbies and I don't know. It's just like it's
Yeah, it's
always
just
very strange
weird.
to me like the lack of respect for like collecting Barbie
Yeah, it's like
versus like
you're
X-Men, which I
yeah,
love too.
it's like if you've got a whole house full of, like, pups, was that why is that different? I don't and anyways, you can actually take them out of the box and play with them. I mean, you can take the Funko Pop, but it's not gonna be as fun.
No. It's not gonna they don't have hair to, like, brush and, like, style and
Exactly.
change their
You can't
clothes and,
you
like,
can't dress
have a
them.
car.
But yeah, so I'm like, what is I don't understand what the where that falls off at.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well okay, so this is actually a great segue into the new Barbie movie, live action with Margot Robbie coming out this
Yes.
summer. Are you excited about the movie, and do you have any expectations?
I have 0 expectations because I have seen a hand Greta Gerwig's other work, so I have no idea what to expect at all, and I'm totally okay with it. I'm excited to see it because I love Margot Robbie. Um, and the fact that she will be playing Barbie is wonderful, especially after she played in 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because Sharon
Oh.
Tate was in a movie called Don't Make Waves, where she starred as a character named Malibu, and shortly after death, Malibu Barbie came about. And while Mattel has never and probably will never admit it, it is widely believed that Sharon Tate, was the inspiration for Malibu Barbie, because the original Malibu Barbie outfit is almost identical to the one she wore in Don't Make Waves. So there is that, and the fact that Margot has already played Sharon beautifully. I just thought that was a pretty weird little, like, not necessarily an Easter egg, but not an Easter egg, just like the a weird little tie-in, I guess, where it's like
Yeah.
Sharon Tate, and now she's playing Barbie, who there is basically a Barbie based off of her, like one of the very popular Barbies from back in the 70s. So I was like, I think that's a cool little, like, of either Barbie or Sharon Tate herself. I was just like, I think that's fun, and I think she's gonna do a great job because Margot Robbie, she's pretty great, I think, as an
I
actress.
agree.
I'm excited.
I think she's great. I mean, I have expectations for the outfits, and
Yes.
like I'm
Uh,
expecting looks, and I want stuff that, because like as a cosplayer, I like need
yes.
more to be able to like cosplay for Barbie, and
Yes.
also like I want this to become a like I think it has the potential to become like a very I don't think more than a cult classic. Like I want it to be like a strong standing film, and like I think that it's very interesting, and it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about a little bit ago about like why is it that like people don't have respect for like people who are Barbie fans? Is it
Mhm.
because it's a girl thing? Because like with the Barbie movie, I think like one of the things that has kind of like frustrated me is like the like sometimes like the lack of respect for the film that's coming
Mhm.
out,
Mhm.
and people like, oh well, it's Barbie, and it's like, well, why wouldn't you like
Yeah.
why would you not take a Barbie movie seriously, but take a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie seriously?
Right? Again, it's weird. I am excited by the one set of screenshots I saw, the leaked ones of, like, the rollerblading scene. I was like, "Oh, I had that Barbie, and it was so good."
I have
So
her in the back too.
good, so good. I remember and the fact that her blades was just so cool.
I still remember the smell of like burnt metal that you did when you
Yeah, it's
when
like
you were rollerblading.
matches and metal. It was just this is a great child's toy. That was something that, catches fire. Why wouldn't you? It was the '90s. So they're like, personal safety. Well, they're fine. They're kids. They're resilient. And then some of us got eaten by Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Barbies?
No, the Cabbage Patch Dolls that they made briefly.
Oh, yeah, I
They
remember
they had
that.
they had the backpack, like,
Dude,
kids
I forgot about that.
kids got their fingers chomped on, their hair stuck in this killer Cabbage Patch Doll, like, me growing up when I did, I was like, "Oh," I saw because I remember how old I was when they came out. I wanna say they came out in, like, 2000, so I was in high school by that point, like, 99, 2000, but I saw the ad before they took the dolls off the shelves, and I was like, "Well, this has potential for Chucky territory right here, right here. Gonna end poorly," and it did. But yeah, just, like, I remember all of those, like, nowadays, you'd probably never see something like the Barbie with the literal flint rollerblades that if you really tried, you probably could have started a fire with it if you wanted to. Uh, I didn't try, but it probably happened at least once. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do and, like, all the iconic fashion from over many decades of Barbie existing. The story, I for some reason, that's not the first thing that I'm caring about with this movie. I just wanna see, like, what she's gonna be wearing. Like, I need to know. I need to know, and I need other people to, make those outfits for me immediately as soon as they come. Please, Forever 21, um,
Yes.
get some kind of partnership and recreate that look specifically. The rollerblading one.
The rollerblade, the cowgirl rollerblade. Oh, the other one, the like in the hot pink.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
okay, so I was doing my research because I was like, that is a great outfit. You can low key do it. Um, someone has created the bodysuit.
I saw
Um,
all that.
so like all you need is some hot pink like biker shorts with the bodysuit. The neon green rollerblades is difficult. I know the company that made them, so they're called Impala.
Oh,
I don't know if they have a pair of I did not see a pair of neon green rollerblades, but if you buy the white ones, you can paint them like
that is
well
true.
neon yellow.
Unless unless they do after the movie comes out, which would be a brilliant idea.
Oh, I'm okay. So like right
All
now,
of them.
all of my money is being held hostage because I know for a fact, like literally, I'm like selling stuff that I'm like, okay, I'm not collecting this, like get rid of it. I know that like for Little Mermaid merch, I'm gonna be buying a bunch of that. And then this summer for Barbie merch, I'm gonna probably buy everything. I'm gonna buy the like movie Barbie because of course I am. I'm gonna buy every single t-shirt and outfit. like, like,
Yeah.
yes, Mattel, you will be taking all of my money in the month of June for the Barbie movie.
Yes. That is that is a fair assessment because I feel like not not as many things, but I see some stuff that I'm it's gonna give me that nice little nostalgia hug, and I'm be like, "I need it. I need to have it. You please." Like, for someone who pretty much basically wears all black all the time, if you're gonna give me the option to dress like a from my childhood in the '90s, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take that chance. Okay. Hot pink bike first sold. Gimme again, that totally hair Barbie, that dress. Give it. Gimme it. I've wanted it since that Barbie came out. I wanted it in my size, and I haven't found one yet. So, please have that be in the movie, and then a beautiful soul that loves to recreate these pieces, please do it. I will buy one. Or if you
I feel
mass
like
market it at Forever 21, I will also buy it there at that point.
I feel like they should definitely like do an homage to Totally Hair Barbie because it is the best selling doll ever. Like ever.
Yes. I
Okay.
I'm curious if they're gonna have the what were they called? The secret heart Barbies? Where you would open up because they had, like, a built-in bodysuit that you couldn't take off, and then you opened it up, and, like, Barbie had Ken, like, a picture of Ken inside of her chest, and then this it was I believe she had red hair, and she had Barbie's friends, and her secret heart, when you opened it up, actually had a picture of Barbie inside of it.
Midge.
Was it Midge?
I think it was Midge has red hair. Midge is the doll with red hair.
Well, this one, she wasn't let me see, I'm pretty sure it was Kayla. She had the Barbie picture, and, a lot of people were like, "Oh, no, lesbian Barbie," and I already had it, and I was like, "Well, yeah, she's clearly, who cares? This is simple," and I think they took her off the shelves for a while.
Really?
I think so,
I'm
because
learning all sorts of new things.
but but, yes, that is the one, it was. Surprise is what it was called. Locket Surprise Kayla, and yeah, she had a photo of Barbie with her, and some people did not love it. I did. I loved Kayla because she had red hair, and I was jealous because I always wanted to have red hair, which would I can't even wear red because it makes me look sick, but as a child, I did not know that yet, and I loved my Kayla, uh, Barbie. Locket what did she Locket Surprise Kayla.
I have to look that up. I have not I vaguely remember that doll. I was all about like the hair dolls. So it's like Totally Hair Barbie, Hollywood Hair Barbie, Glitter Hair Barbie, like which I have all I was able to track down a mermaid hair Barbie. I was able to track down all of those dolls,
That is
which I
impressive.
have currently in my collection. But I don't remember Locket Barbie.
Yeah.
Um Okay, so we haven't been able to like touch about this, but like, okay, so Barbie has been a lot of things. We talked mostly about 90s Barbies because it was the best era of Barbie, in my opinion. But like, she has had so many different careers. She is a fashion icon. I mean, she's done so much. She's been controversial. Do you think that Barbie is a feminist icon or has the potential to become a feminist icon?
I would say absolutely yes. I mean, given when she started and that era, just life in general, it wasn't really not I don't know if expected, but it wasn't like championed for girls to go forth and dream outside of marriage and babies. And so having that being like she's like, "No, I'm Barbie and you can do whatever you want." And she's like, "Look at me, I'm a doctor. Look at me, I'm a veterinarian." I'm like, "Yeah, that's amazing." Especially for something that was when it was. That was not that that was thing. It was like baby dolls for
Mhm.
the longest time. Like that's it, dolls because they're like, "Oh, here's a little girl. You're expected to want to be a mom." And that's it. The end. And then Barbie comes along and is like, "Hey, did you know that you can literally do anything that you want?" Which
Yeah.
that's amazing. I'm a huge fan. And for all of the controversy around like how the Barbie was built and her proportions, I get it, but that is also changed now and more inclusive. So it's just like that original message of you can be anyone you want. They've just expanded on, I think is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that she is a feminist icon, and I also think it's very interesting because you're bringing up the history because, like, it took, Ruth a lot of work to get Barbie to sell. And a lot of like, nobody wanted to buy the doll. Like no stores ever wanted to buy Barbie. And like back in the day, like 1959, parents were like, I'm not going to give my daughter some like grown ass woman who like with her titties all out.
Right, like,
Like,
wearing a bathing suit.
yeah, in a bathing suit, like, and she has breasts, and it was just like, but it was very interesting because it was kind of like it it's the way that they were able to like sell the doll was they did market research and they were like one of the girls, one of like the little girls with her mom, she was like, "Oh, Barbie needs to look pretty. She needs to look nice." And so like the mom was cool with the girl playing with the Barbie because Barbie taught her like how to be a lady or like how to be a woman. And so it was kind
Oh.
of like this marketing of like how to be a proper lady so that you can get married. But I feel like it was Trojan horsed because it's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, sure, let me just put this out there." And then it turned into
Sure.
like, you can literally be anything and do anything because it's like Barbie could never like, Barbie has never been married, and she can never actually get married because it will like, basically, it's like in the documentary they were talking about it, there's like it will kind of like I don't know if it's like in the fantasy or something, but it kind of like it does something to Barbie where, like, it puts her into, like, this other category that,
Mhm.
like, I guess little girls would not be interested in, which I always thought that was, like, super fascinating, like, when I learned about it, and it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I guess Barbie never has been married, and she has been able to just do, like, a bunch of really cool stuff,"
Right? Like,
which is probably why I've never
rock
been
star
married.
enough, star enough. Like, you can get what you can also play guitar, in outer space. So, really just the whole the whole thing. Whatever you wanna do, yeah, you can definitely do it. I'm like, I'm here for that. I love all that.
Yeah.
Much like, "Do you wanna be a veterinarian? Sure. Do you wanna, have your sister live with you and start a babysitting business? You can also do that if you want to." Just like, whatever you want, which I think is a very, very solid message
Do you wanna be an
to
astronaut?
Right. I have a very, fear of space, so that has never been for me. I'm sure there are millions of children that would love to, be astronauts someday, and Barbie can help them, play through those fantasies. It's not for me, no, thank you. I don't trust space, I'm scared of it.
Well, Z, that's the end of our show and our interview. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and for talking to me about your Barbie experience. This was such a fun and funny, and I did not expect nostalgic conversation. I think with on Twitter, you're like, "Are we the same person?" And now throughout
Right.
this conversation, I'm like, "Are we the same person?"
Like, "Yeah, can you say that?" Because I feel like maybe.
Yeah. But where can people find you on social media? And do you have any new projects you would like people to know about?
Yes, you can find me on all of the social media at, Goodnight Goldie, uh, Goldie, on Twitter, and, you can also find, my podcast. We release new episodes every Wednesday, where you listen to your podcast. It's Ghosts, and Hoes, AUXS, because we're fancy, where we talk about all things true crime and paranormal. And that is where I am as for new projects. I am working on my first YA horror novel, which someday will be out, I hope. Hope. Next month, yes, next month is April. I will be my first short film that I wrote.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
You.
So where can people find or keep track of that? Should they like
You
just on social media?
yep, on the social media, you can follow me on Twitter. That is where I am most active if it doesn't, implode before then. And if it does, you can still find on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Z, for coming on. This is such a great conversation. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And if you have any questions or comments, this episode will be on YouTube and it's also on Spotify. And we are looking to expand to other listening platforms, but I'm still learning how to do that. And if you would like to follow me, you could find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Isabel, Isabel, S. Dieppa, Dieppa. And yeah. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.